Okay. Right, good evening. I'd like to call the Town of Annapolis Royal Committee of the Whole to order on April the 7th, 2026, it being 5 p.m. All councillors are present, no regrets or absences. We have a couple of additions to the agenda. We'll have some public input from a citizen. We'll discuss the visit of the Fulmar to Annapolis Royal. We will change the order of the unfinished business to put council engagement session first and live streaming the council meeting second. And we will add under in-camera session under section 22(2) of the Municipal Governance Act, buy, sell, or lease property. Are there any other additions to the agenda? Consider it adopted then. Any conflict of interest issues? None being declared, we'll proceed. Has everyone looked at the committee of the whole minutes from March 3rd? Any comments or corrections? We'll consider them adopted then. Are there any presentations? None. We'll move on to public input now, and Roger would like to have his 3 minutes to talk to us.
Thanks. I just wanted to say I was delighted to have been able to take part in the engagement session a couple of weeks ago. I got a lot got done, and it's a great format for letting folks chat about concerns and ideas, and applaud the council and staff when they can in a convivial type of setting like that. So thanks very much. I know that the engagement session will be part of the agenda. And so just to add to that, I know that one of the things that came up was the survey, and how it pointed to how folks like to be engaged. And I want to put a shout out for the good thoughts about what we communicate. I think our channels of communications are important, of course, but our content trumps that. So looking forward to more information for sessions like that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, so we'll move on to new business. The first topic being request for decision regarding repealing the Genie policy. Did you want to say anything to that, Sandra?
The information was in your package, and this is just because of the budget changes, so there is no more money in the budget to support the Genie policy, so looking just to repeal it.
May I have a motion, please?
Yeah, I'll start. I move to recommend to council to repeal the grants for encouraging new and interesting events, Genie policy number 2023-05 dated March 16th, 2023.
You have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion required on this topic?
I just wanted to ask through Madam Chair to Sandy. Was this also because there wasn't many applications coming in for it as well?
Correct.
Okay.
We haven't used our full funding allocation, I think, for the last 3 years.
I think that's just good to note that it wasn't just solely a budgetary decision, that it was just an uptake decision as well.
And we'll be open to thinking within the budget about ways to support town activities for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too is we're fully funding our share of an economic development officer.
Yes.
And the third municipal share, because we're supposed to be 3 units now, there's just 2. So that's where I think a lot of our money went into that effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, any further comments or discussion? All right, all in favor? Unanimously carried. So the second topic is request for decision, reveal the pickle policy.
And that one's the same thing.
Okay,
Not to take the new position with the County of Annapolis and the budget removal.
we have a motion.
Sure. I move to recommend to council to repeal the projects to approve quality of life fund pickle policy number 2023-06 dated March 16th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Any comment on this topic? Okay, all in favor? Unanimously carried. Next topic is request for decision, replace fines and fees policy. Sandy?
And so with the changes that we made to the vending bylaw in March, we need to update the fines and fees policy to align with the removal of the garden centers and the mobile stand. So this is just to reflect those changes.
Yeah, very simple language changes to reflect what it is.
May I have a motion?
Yes, I move to recommend to council to repeal the fines and fees policy 2025-10 dated July 17, 2025, and replace the fines and fees 2026-03 dated April 2026.
And I'll second that. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay.
I would just suggest the word bylaws. It should be BY hyphen LEW wherever it appears, to be consistent with our bylaws. I know this is a policy, but every single one of them is missing.
All right. Given that, update or change, all in favor?
Okay.
Unanimously carried. Next topic is Clean Foundation Joint Climate Action Plan.
So the report they have in your agenda package is going to the Environment Advisory Committee tomorrow. And Genevieve will be presenting the plan that I think it was over a year that they collected all the data, did the research. And this is just for information only and will be used to go forward with our joint action plan with the county and the town of Milton.
I thought it was really well written.
Yep, same. I thought it was an excellent report.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
Do they have a plan to engage more younger people? They mentioned that, that was what was missing from the report. I think they talked about going into schools.
Yeah, so they have a couple
Photo contest and
and
photo
something else.
contest and directly going into schools, I thought was the other thing that they mentioned.
And Genevieve has the dates already booked for those.
Oh, okay.
And I just can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know tomorrow she'll be going over like what they are and they were looking for prizes or something and at Clean, they have a whole section just for youth engagement. And so they'll be taking the lead with Genevieve on going to the schools, and they're going to the 3 high schools. Bridgetown, Milton and ours.
Okay,
And they found one person between 18 and 24.
one.
Who answered the survey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we found nobody, but they managed to find one.
So will they take that survey to them also?
No, they're gonna do different
Okay,
interactions and more geared towards their level. Yeah.
Anything further on that topic? And, proposal for a friendship city relationship with Dashinchilian, Mongolia.
So this email came to request of the mayor looking for an cultural exchange, but go ahead, yeah.
I thought it was very interesting, but it sounded more like it was appropriate for either all 3 municipalities or the county as opposed to our little tiny.
But we have our hands full with the ones that we have now. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if they want to engage with the schools, they probably need to contact schools directly, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we could engage on tourism and heritage, but not best practices in agriculture and limited on cultural exchange even. So.
I was thinking with the world the way it is, like, any contact that we could do, even if it was the pen pal thing, like I'd be willing to take that on, just very limited, something just simple that's
I think
doable.
we composed a kind response and said, we'd like to understand better what, what each group brings to the table and how we could help each other, and it's not a bad thing.
And maybe we could suggest that they reach out to the county.
Well, Oh, absolutely, we could. And where would you park this? Would you park it under our larger twinning thing so that we manage like all these bits and pieces, or in terms of
Probably makes
putting
sense
it in place? Yeah, just so we keep a track of what we are doing that's extra, yeah.
I just wonder how they chose Annapolis Royal.
That's what I thought too.
Especially given that their contact is in Toronto. But it's nice though.
Well, we do advertise in Toronto.
Mhm.
We do, so it's
I've
possible
always
that
wanted to
did
go
it.
to Mongolia, so to Ulaanbaatar, but.
There we go, another trip for.
Oh, yeah. Someone loves to get on an airplane. I can't drive there, so.
There are boats, like well, no more containers anytime soon, but.
All right, so then we're agreed that, we'll write a kind response.
Yeah.
Amory will,
Okay, good. So the next topic is request, for leave of absence from council. That's on my behalf. I have a significant potential illness in the family. I'll know more about it on May 1st. I need to be in Montreal to help my son and his wife cope with it. And so, I want to be very focused on them to help them. So,
Understandable.
I'm hoping that 6 weeks is gonna be enough, but, it's possible I might have to ask for an extension.
and so there is a motion, so we need to have that because under the MGA. You have to ask for a leave of absence, up to 3 months, so that your physician is on hold, and you don't have to have a violation, so.
So do you want me to make that?
Sure.
Okay. I move that council approve of a leave of absence from council from April 20th, 2026 to June 30th, 2026 for Deputy Mayor Skinner Robertson, as they will be out of the province on a family matter.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? No, maybe I should have just started a conflict of interest. I didn't think about it.
Just wish you well.
All in favor?
Aye.
So there. Okay. The next topic is secondary signing authority.
Since the deputy mayor will be away for 6 weeks, we need to have someone come in and be able to sign checks or approve payroll or. Whatever for her time that she's away, so looking to see if someone is willing to do that. And I need a motion for that.
I could do that.
Training will be provided.
Okay.
You absolutely don't need anybody else.
Certainly, I'd be happy to do that.
I move that council approve to appoint Councillor Sapkowski as a secondary signing authority from April 20th, 2026 to June 30th, 2026. You'll have to second.
Oh, yes, I'll second it. I was just thinking, I want police protection when I walk the check down.
Oh, here, not that far.
Okay, all right. But if I have to carry checks, I either have to have a gun or.
Oh, that's not
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously carried. Okay, the next topic is the tax exemption request and comes up with the Annapolis Historical Society.
So we received this, I guess, March 27th, requesting, to be written off. I just would like to caution you that this would set
Precedent.
that, could go further. It is unfortunate that the cuts that were done to the arts and culture section of the provincial budget. So just, we have said no, but because we're just staff, but because staff have said no, they have requested it to council to see if you will approve it. So it's up to council.
Is it appropriate to ask what the amount is? I did.
I don't think the amount would matter.
Okay.
Because it could lead to other people asking as well, right?
Could I, not the amount, not a dollar figure, but approximately how many ratepayers would potentially then be coming forward?
I, off the top of my head, I don't know. Like, if I knew the question earlier today, I could have asked Melanie for the exact number.
So it's anybody with commercial properties get written down to the residential rate.
Mhm. But I'm thinking for this reason, so I'm
So
thinking
Arts
the
Council.
Arts Council,
Historic-
Historic Gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody who.
Odell.
Theater. Lighthouse, yeah. It
In their case,
starts to
two
go up,
properties, right, Sinclair
And
yeah.
Yeah.
It starts to
add
snowball.
up.
Well, and at a certain point also, our budget is very tight, so if it does snowball, then we put the town in a risky position, and that's not good for any of those societies.
Yeah.
But that's the other outcome of this budget.
Yes.
Without any preparation or notice to anybody, not municipal units, nobody.
They did not do any forecasting about the impact.
No,
No,
Not at
and
all.
it will trickle down right to us
Mhm.
and it feels horrible.
To
But
say no, yeah.
I feel horrible about it and. But
well, we've approved a budget.
Your hands are a bit tied.
Positions, You're right.
we have
Yeah.
such a small tax base.
And, more and more things are being devolved to this level
Yeah.
of government without any associated resources or money. Just an increase in responsibility and no consultation, what we can and cannot manage. We've got to deal with what may be coming for the police, what may be coming for the fire,
Mhm.
services and many other things. So, as much as we'd like to be able to help. I don't know.
I did check with PBSC and we're among the highest exempt properties, tax exempt properties.
Yeah.
So there's the town support, we're heavily invested already in terms of exempt properties. We're above all of our comparable municipal units.
So do all of the nonprofits that own property get a reduction
If they apply,
if they apply? Okay.
there's a deadline and a process.
Yeah, and so they've already applied for that. Am I understanding that correctly? And so then they were just asking if they could get a flat out exemption. Yeah. I'd have
And
to.
I can see why they want to.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with Lynn. I feel awful, but I don't know how we could say yes.
But our future is really uncertain.
Yeah, I don't know how
What's
we
coming
can.
next.
And for museums, generally, they have to rethink their business model because they all own property.
Yeah.
They could all, in theory, seek some kind of level of effort with exterior buildings, converting them to housing, to help.
Mhm.
Yeah, like there's other things they could do with their properties. Like 12 museums are closing apparently, so
Yeah.
they're all pretty substantial properties. There's gotta be a better business model to make them viable.
Yeah, we won't be the only one facing this, the only municipality facing this question.
No,
And I think correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, but we support our museums, we support what they do for the community and wish we could take this step, but we can't. If there are other ways that we find that we can help, we will certainly do that, I think. But
That's fair, yeah.
anything more on that topic?
Sadly, no.
so I just would like the minutes to
Reflect that we said
reflect
no.
that council said no.
Do we need a motion to say no, or just that?
No,
it
just
reflects
reflect
that we
that
said
we
no?
had the conversation
Regretfully,
and regretfully, yeah.
request, yeah. All right, the tidal gravity generator.
So I'm gonna leave this one up to Jean Marie.
This is on
This is an
the
interesting read.
Yeah.
weird and wonderful list.
Yes.
But there's a motive why this is on the agenda. So
Mhm.
this is tied in with what could happen with the wharf, because it percolated out to the public that there's active discussion and meetings with youth, so that's
Mhm.
where this sits. So in connection with what to do to make a structure of some kind there useful, this is a UK project that received funding, and the
Mm.
company that we're interested in is the people doing the demonstration project. So that's why you got this group, Sunborn. Sunborn is a company.
Our energy, yeah.
So basically, what they do is they support floating hotels and non-floating hotels and anything in the
Wow.
port with gravity generators. So, the displacement of the water feeds the generator. It's a very simple principle. And not only are they doing this, and they've got the UK background, but they have UK background money to partner with other people with better tides than they have.
Well, we have the best tides.
And yes, we do.
Apparently there's somewhere up north that would dispute that.
Yes, but we're not
Close to
speaking
the
on
best.
his behalf. So we have the unique opportunity to say, yeah, we'd be interested in learning more.
Absolutely.
So before we fire off such a letter, Sandy thought it would be a very good idea, see how you feel about it. I know Bill Crossman is very excited about it, of course, anything to do with title, he's very excited. And so I told him we would bring it to council and he'd let me know what we could do.
Absolutely.
Especially if we can somehow make it essential infrastructure. for the
Exactly, that
town
critical
somehow.
infrastructure.
Well, there's this
component.
Associated with the wharf.
Yeah.
And then staff, I can't even pronounce it, but staff found a water desalinator. That's how you
Okay,
pronounce it.
desalination, yeah.
That operates through reverse osmosis. That,
Oh.
Bill explained to me, although I still don't understand, but Bill says that's another really good idea. So
Water
there's
source, that
energy
could be our
things
water.
percolating.
Yeah,
Exactly,
exactly, yeah.
So-
And then a cell phone
that's
repeater
huge.
tower would
Well,
actually
Bill
potentially
never
generate some
stops
income.
thinking.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That
it
would
is.
be really a cool solution to our situation with the water, right?
And you could add his title project to it, and you could add a solar array, and on it goes,
Yeah,
right?
there's probably about 5 things you could add to that.
That you need property put on. So you need a
Yeah.
piece, that the town happens to own.
Yes.
It is falling apart, but we do.
Right, but you start piecing all these things
Yes.
together. That is really, I mean, I found this a fascinating read, like I thought it was really, really interesting what they had to say. And my brain went the same place yours did, in the sense that there's all of these other smaller components that could be added in to make something bigger. And then the one other thing, that struck me was, there was one of the reasons why I have learned, one of the reasons why White Rock got money was because they applied under a historic component. And so how old is our war?
That was one of the questions that Harry asked.
Yes.
Was it?
No, I asked that one.
Oh, you asked that one.
I thought it might have been in the designation articles,
Oh.
in the
yeah, but we
defining
wouldn't-
elements
yeah.
of the historic district.
It would be really interesting to know when the first wharf there was on that site was built, because even though it was added to, is changed and redone, it
Smaller,
would still be the same
Location.
footprint, and so
I'm
that,
sure we could find a rock underneath there
Well,
that came from the
exactly.
Union Railway. With the stamp of the railway on it.
it's some Apple stamps or something.
So we're supportive of exploring this opportunity.
Very
Very,
It's a
yeah.
page form, so we'll get her done.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Right, the next topic is the visit of the FOMAR to Annapolis Royal from the 25th to 27th of April. Do you wanna?
Sure, this is very exciting. Sandy and Ken have been working on this, dealing with the ship that Monsieur Capitaine Mauger, who is stationed, his vessel is stationed in Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon. And it's a naval frigate, so it belongs to the government of France. Stationed there, and they would like to come visit the habitation and, go around and they want to anchor here.
Wow.
So staff dealt with the Port of Digby and another
Montreal
Montreal port. And in the end, the captain has convinced Port of Digby that he knows what he's doing. They can bring 100-foot vessel in here, because
Yeah.
he gave all the depth information, he had all that information, all the conditions. And the Port of Digby said they would assist if he needed any kind of guidance coming
Yeah,
in
needs
for
a
it.
pilot or anything.
So,
That's wonderful.
so nothing on the town. The only question is, like, to receive them at the wharf, I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but staff have been dealing with this.
I mean, the tall ships came almost right to the end of the wharf, not the Blue Nose. But everybody else did. And it did sail past.
So we thought that it would be good to let people know about it, so nobody thinks we're being invaded by the French. It's starting to war up at the-
Three in the afternoon.
On the 25th.
3 in the afternoon on the 25th. The town crier will be there to receive them. I am in Halifax at that particular time. And so hopefully people will take an interest if they're aware of this. And it leaves at 9 AM on the Monday. So their main activities will happen after they get in, like that evening. And the day on the Sunday is pretty full right now with, they want 2 tours of the habitation at 2 set times to accommodate all their crew. And I'm inviting everybody for some event that's unspecified so far at my house, so I'm working on the guest list, and you'll all get an invitation.
On the 26th.
Sadly,
It'll be on the Sunday.
The 26th.
I'm on the organ bench in the morning, so it has to be after that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be in the province.
You're welcome. I might convince Roger to attend,
They're
you know,
sadly.
and you.
Roger can attend on behalf of council.
Council, as the closest I can.
Press him into service.
Yeah, so it's an exciting opportunity and,
Oh,
lots of fun.
Right.
It is very exciting. Yeah, it is very
It's
exciting.
wonderful.
So cool.
We have
Next
that
one,
on.
I've always wanted to go to St. Pierre.
We could be twins.
So next
Yeah,
thing-
think about this. There's opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
And we haven't had a vessel like that since the.
There's a good detective show.
So that's
You can
really
see
nice
Now
too.
about St. Pierre, called
Yes.
St. Pierre, and it's,
Yeah.
it's getting better.
Yeah, we watch it too,
So.
just for the scenery.
All right, on to unfinished business. So we have changed the order, so we'll begin with a summary of the council engagement session provided by Mayor Boyer.
Well, you don't want to hear all my notes. You've received them all. There's 5 pages worth, right? Because I think I got everybody's comments. So 11 people were in attendance, which included 4 members of council. So even though it wasn't a huge crew, there was lots and lots of input. And I numbered every single comment, so you had them there. So you've received the comments on the communication survey results and Mr. Lundella participated in that. So the first part was a presentation on that and then discussion. And then we went on to the live streaming part. And again, there was a PowerPoint presentation with the stats. And so it's up to you, but both of those PowerPoints could go up on the occasion part or not, or the notes could go up because I have not associated them with people, something you can think about. So the notes were there and I sent them to you and I believe they capture pretty much everything that was said unless somebody sees something that was missing. The big takeaway seemed to be exactly what Mr. Lundell said earlier in public input. It was they want to know how decisions are being made, more information on how decisions are being made, decisions and, you know, on
And when they're made.
anything, yeah. But that seemed to be a bit, there was a lot of good comments. It's certainly useful in the development of communications plan, because we have the communications policy. We have our rules of procedure, and now we have this piece, a plan that has to fit in. And part of our plan's already in effect. We know what parts from the survey are working and what has to be worked on. So a plan has to be developed, and so how you want to move on to that is another point. Yeah.
Good. Anybody have anything to add? Okay, so we'll move on to the next topic, which is the live streaming of the council meetings. Maybe Heather, do you want to kick it off? Cause
Sure.
No.
Perhaps I'll make a motion and then that we can sort of open things up for a bit of discussion. So I move that council amend the municipal live streaming of council meetings policy to discontinue the live streaming of council meetings on YouTube and any other platform. And that video recordings of council meetings no longer be maintained as a public archive.
And just to say, I think we should very formally follow Robert's Rules of Order in this case, because there's a lot of feelings and thoughts about this, and I think that'll help us to stay in a good and constructive space. So, may I have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so, then, I'll offer the person who made the motion the opportunity to speak first. Everybody has up to 10 minutes. We go around, everybody gets a chance to speak. If they, once that's done, if we need to, people need to speak again, if there's another 10 minutes and we can, vote on the motion.
Sure. So I don't want to necessarily regurgitate the comments that I've already made, my feelings around the live streaming, but I guess the biggest thing that I want to sort of, I've made some notes just so I can keep on task, but I just want it to be sort of clear that I'm not making this lightly, the motion, or as a means to reduce accessibility or transparency within our community. While I'm opposed to the live streaming and archiving of the videos on YouTube, I'm open to finding other solutions that will work to make the meetings accessible for those who are unable to attend for accessibility concerns. So I guess just looking at some numbers across Nova Scotia and Canada, approximately only 20 to 30% of municipalities in Nova Scotia right now live stream their council meetings, and nationally only about 15 to 25% are live streamed as well. So it's not a provincial or national standard, and I don't think that we want to suggest that those who aren't live streaming aren't offering accessible alternatives or being transparent in the way that they disclose information to their communities. Yesterday online, Mayor Pam Mood out of Yarmouth actually posted a really great video that sort of highlighted a discussion from female counselors from across Canada, I think Manitoba, Alberta, and I can't recall the
One was in Ontario.
Ontario, yeah.
And
Yeah.
she'll be in part two.
Pardon?
She'll be in part two,
Yeah.
Mayor Mood.
And I thought the discussion was really, really interesting. They discussed the rising rates of harassment of female politicians that they experience personally and professionally, and the impact that it had on their lives. The speaker suggested that the tone of political discourse in Canada has really shifted, and discussions are becoming more and more polarized, and have become sort of less of a respectful space. One of the major discussions that they addressed were that women in politics experience harassment differently than their male counterparts. It's a lot more intense as well. So I thought that the conversation did a really great job of highlighting how that sort of environment can discourage women from entering and even staying in municipal politics, as well as just being comfortable speaking openly during these sort of styles of meetings. So I believe that municipal politics is a very different experience for men and women. But I'm also invested in appealing to young future politicians who might be interested in this role, whether that's women or individuals from marginalized groups. And I want to find ways so that they're not dissuaded from engaging in this role because of the implications of live streaming or the ways that they may feel that their safety or online presence might be impacted. What else do I want to say? So in general, because YouTube and other platforms allow comments, clipping, reposting, live streaming meetings can unintentionally amplify harassment and abuse directed at counselors, particularly women. And I think that our town does a really great job of communicating. And as we talked about in our communication plan, we can do much better job at communicating content. So we already do provide written minutes, we provide the agenda ahead of time, we have the ability for people to attend in person. We host quarterly communication engagement sessions, we have our online surveys, and we communicate information through the Facebook page and the town crier newsletter. I'm pretty sure there's a few more there that I'm forgetting, but that's kind of the important ones. So I think it's beyond reasonable to provide written summaries or briefing notes moving forward to the public so that they're aware of what decisions are made and how we've come about those decisions. And we can certainly post those after committee of the whole meetings or council sessions. But I think the biggest point that I just want to drive home is that transparency is about access to information and decision making. It's not about permanent video broadcasting. So.
Okay, 5 more minutes, you're done.
Nope, yeah, no, I think again, just to amplify, it's a safety concern. You know, it's, most of us have other roles in and around the community. With having young children, I still have a long career ahead of me, and having those sort of left online can impact me and my family in lots of different ways. So again, just want to say I'm not opposed to finding alternative solution. I'm willing to work around that, but just the live streaming and having them permanently kept on YouTube is something I would like to remove.
Adele, do you want to speak next?
Somebody else want to go? I'm happy to go, but I don't know why I'm chosen next, but.
Just because there's just people from different points of view. So.
So I'll start by saying I've actually spoken to quite a few people in the community. I tried to speak to people without making my position on the subject known, so that I was just taking information in and not trying to influence what people were telling me. So of the 22 people that I spoke to, 4 outright said, don't care at all, think you guys are doing a good job, don't matter to me to see it. They were just like, don't care. 3 of the people overlapped with the engagement session, and I think they made their opinions clear that they were in favor of it in the engagement, of continuing streaming in the engagement session, along with others. 1 overlapped with an email that we received from the public that wants it to continue. And another one was a person that is from our accessibility community who was very concerned and wants it at the very least before council makes a decision for it to go to the IDEA committee. So then there was 13 other people who had varying milder degrees of opposition, that they wanted it to continue, but what form that, how it continued, that could be up for conversation. So it wasn't a, unanimous, everybody wants it, and it was not that many people didn't want it. So for my part, I can't in good conscience, because of all of that, support ending the live broadcast, and the digital archive could change from its current format of the committee of the whole and council meetings. The primary issue that I have is that when I look at how that issue of scraping and reusing material actually works, in a live stream that's happening right now, you can't actually scrape the video because you can't scroll back in the stream. You're only getting exactly what's happening at the moment. So the most you could do is record it with a cell phone or something like that, but you couldn't actually download or scrape the video. You couldn't make clips. You couldn't do any of those things. And so I've looked at a number of the technical issues that are part of this component. And for example, our YouTube channel doesn't have comments available to it, just like our Facebook channel doesn't have comments available to it. So nobody can reply or comment on those videos anyways. The one thing that I think could potentially happen, again, because the live stream itself is not scrapable, but the archive of it could be made unlisted. And if you make it unlisted, it's not available to the general public unless you provide them with the link. The link could be provided to our town newsletter, for example. That's a fairly finite list of people, and you can actually control what's going on there. And if anything were to get out of hand, you have the ability to make it completely private and nobody can access it without a password. So there's levels of control that we actually have before wiping things out completely, because so many people have focused on the issue of transparency, accessibility, and inclusiveness. One of the things that concerns me as well is that we are elected public officials. Our roles are inherently public. We do not have a choice in that. There isn't an ability to not be public in our activities in terms of our work with council. If we attend a public meeting or a public event, we can be subject to photography and videography, and we are not able to prevent that from happening. So we don't have the ability to not be public facing. I did look at information around politicians that have stepped down or chose not to run again due to negative online experiences. There have been quite a few. None of them were related to scraping video or memes or anything that I'm trying to think of ways to express that were produced with that material. Primarily, most of them were conflicts that generated in the comments and got out of hand, and people got really crazy about it. And even as we talked about Mayor Pam Mood, even she, will say that that's where the worst of it is. And I'm actually the person that connected her to the people doing that workshop, because I know what she's been through. Pam and I are friends. I think that no platform can fully prevent downloading of images, audio, or video, but we do have that ability to control it more. We also, you can go into the details section of a video and say, don't allow remixing. So that means even people who would be doing it legitimately can't actually do that. So that would be the news or something like that, wouldn't be able to scrape anything from it. I just feel that in our current political climate that our transparency and our inclusiveness and our accessibility is more important than ever. And I really think that we are accountable to the community, to the folks who elected us, and to reduce their ability to see exactly how we all work together and how we work with staff is quite critical to me. And I appreciate the official records of our meetings. The written minutes are excellent, but what they don't provide is a look at how we interact and work in good faith to provide municipal governance for our friends and neighbors. We're a very small community. The people who are looking at us are our friends and neighbors. So to me, the visual record of the meeting is just as important as the written one. And one of the reasons I chose to run for council was because I was able to go back and look at meetings and see how they were conducted and what was involved and how people engaged with one another. And I routinely hear from people who are looking at our meetings at a later date because they couldn't come here in person and they only watch the segment that is important to them. They don't want to come and sit through a whole meeting. They want to watch, item 9 or whatever it is on the agenda. They just want to see that little bit. And I've been really pleased that we as a community partnered with our surrounding municipalities with the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility Committee. And the key elements of that committee, and I quote from their webpage, is that it is imperative that all local governments and communities that make up all of Annapolis County provide the required leadership to ensure our entire community is supportive of all residents each day. This support requires a wide breadth of strategies, policies, processes, programs, services, and infrastructure that recognizes while equality is desirable, equity is what is needed. And so the challenge with equity is it does not mean that everyone is comfortable, but rather that the opportunities of accessibility and inclusion are balanced for everyone. I don't particularly like seeing myself on video. I don't particularly like the fact that there's photos of me all over the place. But my work has made that inherently necessary, both as counsel and in my private business. I feel like we just adopted the Annapolis County Joint Accessibility Plan 2026 to 2028. And one of its 5 areas of focus is, and I quote, information and communication, ensuring all people can receive, understand, and share the information they need to increase awareness and education about accessibility rights and opportunities that can benefit the whole community. We also just recently adopted the Equity, Diversion, and Inclusion Plan 2026 to 2029, with one of the 4 main points in that document being make our county more accessible in our buildings, transportation, and the way we share information. I think it's entirely inappropriate of us to be considering moving one of the simplest ways that we have to make our meetings both inclusive and accessible when we can in fact secure that information better so that it's not so widely available to the public. I think that's everything for me.
Then do you want to go next?
Sure. I think it's really unfortunate we have to even talk about this. I listened to the podcast last night and I had to turn it off because it was quite upsetting. And one of the worst parts of all of it is that if you are a victim of harassment, there's very little remedy for that. No one's going to come and save you. No one's going to come and protect you, no matter how afraid you do feel. I think Heather said a lot of things that I was going to say, so I won't repeat it. I think we can look at when we get our new website, possibly increasing accessibility to minutes, making sure people have easy access to our meetings. Talking about equity, we have a member of our council requesting an increased level of privacy. And I support my fellow council women, because we're all women. And in that vein, I can't imagine not supporting her. Requesting this. And it does not affect transparency. We know that it's not mandated, otherwise it would be mandated across the country that everything has to be live streamed. I really appreciate the public input that we got, and that people were talking about the fact that it is convenient for them. And I'm really open to looking at alternatives also with that everybody here feels comfortable with. I think that's about it. Yeah, I can't imagine not supporting somebody asking for privacy, no matter if they're elected official or not.
All right. Yeah, Amber?
Yeah, and I won't go through everything that was said either. I realize there's two completely defensible sides of it. But my concerns are, the people we control the rules for our council, like we make the rules. And one of the ones that I thought was important, if we protect our employees, we also have to protect ourselves as council members. And I know individual councillors choose to be more or less engaged online. I'm one of those who am very careful what I do online. Never do I speak for the town online, and I'm not saying other people do. But for me, I would prefer to maintain my privacy. Now, I will go to people's homes. They can meet with me at home here. I let them choose where. I go to them. That's the first thing I offer is I will go to you first. So I do other things, but I believe there's lots we could do to improve. And even if I had to go online after a meeting and summarize whatever, so I'm prepared to change the way I do my reports, to change that completely, to change the reporting, both for the reports, both for the town crier, whatever council want to do. I don't mind being online to deliver notes. I know it's not the same as you in the interaction, but I'm prepared to fully change what we have to do to improve two things: accountability, transparency, all the rest of it. But also I'm very concerned about safety of people online, and people to take a risk when they go online. I admire them for what they do, but not all of us feel, I would not feel comfortable being as online as I see some people being. They're very brave. I'm not one of those. I'm just not. Like I'll operate within the confines of an organization, and that's it when it comes to online, because I've seen what's happened, and I don't choose to become a victim. And that's it for me.
So, I don't have a lot more to add to what's been said, other than that I'm very torn by it, certainly. I mean, for me, the, important things are, the town be seen as transparent, and I do agree that just putting it on YouTube doesn't make us transparent. I think there are other ways that we can look at transparency. I think that we were a transparent towns council before YouTube came along. I don't know, do we have to be married to YouTube? Are there other options that are out there? I'm a little bit concerned with some of the, how much we need to find, whatever we do, we need to find something that works for the staff, so we're not burdening them with a lot of activity to create the situation where whatever tool we use is safe. I mean, what I feel is maybe it's time to re-examine I know it's not very long since this started, but the world is moving at light speed with regard to, different technologies that are now coming into play, and that understandably make people more and more reluctant to have their images places on the internet where they're not fully in control of them. So I can't read my writing. Yeah, I've just been back and forth on this, and can really see both sides, and I guess what I feel is I don't know that we have to be wedded to YouTube streaming. Maybe there's another option to accomplish what we want. It gives us better control, simpler control for the staff over what goes out there. And that creates safety and comfort for everyone here. And one of the things that I am quite concerned about, because I think younger generations are even more worried about this stuff than we are, right? Lots of them aren't even on some of the platforms that we're on as older people. And we do want to make sure that they feel safe to step forward and volunteer. We need to think about the privacy of our council members, but also the privacy of their families, right? And I don't think that, being out in public, that risk has always been there, absolutely, but I think people's behavior on the internet is different than people's behavior when they have to face someone face to face. I'm not right now, I don't know how I'm gonna vote, to be honest, because I can see both sides of the story. But I guess my plea would be that if we've got people that are super uncomfortable, then we need to find a solution. And I would think in this day of technology, there is something that we could do where people either, sign in to get, permission to listen. I guess the other thing that I was thinking about right now, anybody around the world anywhere can look in and, how do we know somebody in, I don't wanna malign any state anywhere, something Stan is, could be, creating a situation for one of the council members later down the line with bribery or, extortion. So, maybe it's something that warrants another look at what's the best and safest tool to provide some kind of safety, keeping in mind that whatever it is, it shouldn't create an undue burden for the staff to A, to find it, and B, to then maintain it. So, do you want another chance to speak to it? Adele, do you?
Just a couple of things, because I forgot to say it earlier, was the 30% of municipalities live streaming only actually counts the live streaming. There's probably, I didn't actually count, I should have, but I didn't actually count, but I would say that would probably be an additional 30% that are actually in TV. They're being aired on television. We have that here in Nova Scotia, but it's in every province across the country. And so you end up seeing a much larger number go up when you look at the live broadcast as opposed to just live streaming on the internet. And then the only other thing that I would say to this is I'm not against finding ways to protect our privacy. What I am against is making wholesale changes without including the other people in the community who have a vested interest in how we're communicating now. And that's something that I just feel very strongly about. And so when I had somebody say to me, I think it needs to go to the accessibility community, to the committee, for them to have some input and insight, and maybe they have some better ideas about how this could be managed. That I felt very strongly about that we're making a decision here that one hand, it's for our protection and our privacy, but on the other hand, we are here because there's a whole community of people that we are serving. And so that whole community of people, I feel, needs to have some weight in this discussion as well. And right now, I don't see that happening.
Lynn, did you want to make additional comment? Ingrid? Okay. I mean, I guess my only comment to that would be one person going around and talking to several people doesn't create, it may. So if we are going to look at that kind of input, it needs to be a broader approach than a single person interviewing.
I completely agree, 100% agree.
So do you prefer your motion to stand?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to sort of amend the motion to remove the live streaming and video archiving, but also explore alternatives. Do I think we're necessarily going to come up with a list of alternatives right now? No, but yeah. I don't know the best.
Yeah, so that substantively changes the motion. So are you trying to Are you encouraging that we seek direction?
Well, I guess my position has not really changed in terms of the live streaming and archiving, so that part of the motion, I think, still stands. I just want to sort of say that I'm open, and I think that can be part of like another discussion to exploring ways of,
I understand.
Yeah.
And I would just say, I would hope that we could have that discussion before we make such a big decision. That's where I'm coming from.
Right, so, do you want to amend your motion then? To say. To add in,
yeah, certainly, so. I move that council. Remove the live streaming or amend the municipal live streaming of council meeting policy to discontinue the live streaming of council meetings on YouTube. And video recordings, of council meetings to no longer be maintained as a public archive. But, you know, do we need a task for it? Like, I'm not sure,
explore,
or, but move to, or
maybe we need to explore the community, temperature isn't the right word, but community,
Impact.
do a more formal. Gather information more formally on how members of the community feel about how we, can,
alternative ways of,
yeah,
Community.
and look for ways of, meeting the community needs while creating a safe environment for counselors.
So it's almost like we've got two things.
I was gonna say, there's two
Yeah,
motions
two
here.
motions there.
okay,
So, but my concern is, before we go any further, is that by removing the sections that you want, that's really the whole policy.
Yeah.
So I think the policy should just be repealed. I think your
Okay.
motion, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah.
You would like to make a motion to repeal the current policy. And
and
then another motion should be, how are we going to go forward? Are we going to investigate other options?
I mean,
Um,
sorry, if I don't mind, it may just also tie in with our communication strategy as
Mhm.
well. So we've already sort of done an exploration, started an exploration for making changes to our communication policy, then we could sort of add that on as,
But my concern is we're making changes before we've done the work. And that's really where I'm coming from. I'm not opposed to making people's privacy more secure, but we're talking about making a big change before we've actually done the work to explore what we should or should not do. And I'm really struggling with that. That's where I'm struggling.
I guess I'd go with the potential harm, where council is saying, if there's a danger of potential harm, you stop what you're doing. We do it all the time in municipal government, right? If we're not sure, we're developing a communications plan. I like the idea that we're gonna explore, okay, what else can we do? What else can we do? But I don't think the issues of safety were part of it. When I read through the communications policy, there was nothing there to protect anybody.
Mm.
Our environment has become more toxic. And
Right, but we
and
do
so
have
I'm concerned
things
about,
in
I'm
place.
concerned about harm. Of somebody being harmed, that would be my main
And
motivation.
I don't know how they'd be harmed. That's what I'm trying
I
to
think
say.
there are lots of examples of how people.
We don't have comments, we don't have any engagement on that back and forth. There's no ability to scrape a live stream while it's happening, and you can make the archive unlisted. And then it's not scrapable either.
I've spoken 3 times, so.
Yeah, so have I.
I won over my account.
Yeah.
So I think
So-
we have to go back to what the actual motion is
Okay, so,
and vote on that motion.
or are we gonna withdraw and do two separate motions?
So I think there
I don't
has to
think
be
you can
clear,
withdraw that, can you?
Yeah.
there needs to be clarity on the motions, because
We're all.
I'm sitting here and I don't understand
okay.
the motion. To me, it either needs to be repealed. And that's it, because like just removing those two things are mostly what the policy
Yeah,
is about.
okay, no, so I move that council repeal the municipal live streaming of council meeting policy
It would need an effective date.
effective today.
Do we have a second?
Now, that would make it retroactive because it
Or
goes
is
to
it-
council
right.
meeting, right?
Okay, so end of the month,
Next week. Well,
Or-
I'm just saying you need to.
So usually, if I may interject, usually we recommend and then we make the motion. So we would still follow up at council with another one.
Okay.
But if you want to repeal the policy, would be repeal the policy as of
next week,
next week instead of
okay.
Okay. Do you want to repeat it? Sorry.
I feel like I read the same thing. Okay, so I move the council repeal the municipal live streaming of council meetings policy effective April 15th, 2026.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second. Sorry.
I'll second that.
so April, is that the date of council though?
Yes.
Okay.
Next Wednesday.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And me? I'm gonna abstain because I still don't make them stand.
And that's
So
it's a no
is a
vote.
no vote.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so if you don't vote, it's a no. So there's 2 no's and 3 yeses.
Okay. Now, do we want to make the second motion?
So I move the council develop a communications strategy. That specifically highlights, or that includes ways that council can more effectively communicate with the public.
I think that's too broad, isn't it?
So, we need to develop a communication policy.
Well, actually, it's a plan.
Plan,
Because there is a
okay.
policy.
So, yes, yes, develop a communication
Plan.
that takes into consideration all of the communication methodologies that we currently use, that explores options for
Accessibility, inclusion.
Yeah, communities.
transparency.
community members to be able to access the yeah, it's a very hard one, critical
Information.
So I don't think this needs to be a motion,
no, okay,
because I don't think the people at the table understand kind of what's needed.
yeah,
Exactly.
So I think we need to brainstorm staff and counselors together
mhm,
on kind of what we're missing,
Mhm.
how we can,
That was exactly my concern. Yeah.
right, because,
what the latest options are, I think.
right. So if you're fine with not making a motion and just kind of we'll,
Provide direction.
yeah, we'll work together on how we're looking to move forward and kind of cover everything that needs to.
Could I ask in that process that, perhaps when you come back with information for council, that it include the information about what's already in place, because I don't feel confident that everybody at the table actually understands the protections that are already in place, because we've talked about things that can't actually happen on our platforms right now. So I think it's important for everybody to understand already what's in place.
So we can, but with the motion that just passed, live streaming will not continue after this evening.
So,
No, it would have to be for the next meeting, because we have to vote on it at the next meeting. So we'd still be live streaming at the next meeting.
April 15th.
Yeah, that would be our last one.
Okay,
And on the technical
But we're-
aspects, there's tons of provision already, like we've had submissions. We've been talking about this quite a while. So, I mean, if there's a technical notes, and we have extensive notes of conversations, we have survey results, there's no lack of information, but if there's specific information to go to council, usually that takes a format. Somebody does a report or does a whatever. But that's how council receives information, goes in a package for whatever education anybody feels, which any counselor can include at any time. You don't have to wait for. So information sharing should be going on all the time.
But yeah, I guess the kind of information that I'm talking about is what they can see from behind the account. and I can't put that in a package and show it to everybody.
No, but if somebody wants to do a technical explanation or presentation,
Mhm.
that can be done, yeah. I'm just saying that there are ways to bring people up to speed on
Mhm.
different things.
So, but I'm not going to have a report
By next week.
by next week.
That's what this is all.
Okay,
That's
so I just
right.
want you to be clear that I
We're
am not,
talking about future.
yeah, because the agenda package goes out Thursday.
It's timely because we're working on a communications plan. We recognize we need a plan. So this is good. This will be
Okay.
part of that.
And I think it's super important as we communicate to people to, be clear that everybody supports transparency, everybody supports DEI. We want, the current counselors to feel safe, and we want to create an
Exactly.
environment of safety for other people who may choose to join the council in the future. And, you know, we want to pay special attention to the risk that women who choose to step forward in politics face. And that's the spirit in which this is being done, not in trying to shut down anybody's understanding or access to what happens in council meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, is that, no, that's around with my papers and off my agenda. Okay, are we comfortable then to move on to the next topic? Correspondence. I think everything's been covered that was, yeah, so, then may I have a motion to go into camera and a seconder and then the reverse? All in favor?